Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of That Tottenham Show. I know I took a week off last week, but we had to get ready for the derby, but yeah, that didn't end in our favour. But this week I have an all-female panel. I'm very excited to dissect all of that and just get into the game, unfortunately so, and obviously a few previews as well. So let's get right into it. Hi, welcome back. And I'm joined as always by my panelist, Tanya. How are you doing other than Tottenham?
Yeah, I mean, other than Tottenham, I'm okay. But if you ask me this on the weekend, be a different story.
I'm sure. But this week we've got two amazing guests that are doing amazing things in this industry for the females. So we've kept it all female with these empowering women. So first guest is Abby, which is working with Sony, which is amazing, by the way.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very honoured to have you on. And we have got another guest, which is kind of a familiar face to the terrace. She's on and off doing her amazing talk sports stuff, but honestly, it sounds incredible. We have Maya. How are you?
Hi.
Yeah,
good. Thank you.
Back. I'm so happy to have you on here. We've been waiting to get you on the Spurs show. I mean, there's comments every week like, "Where's where's Maya? Where's Maya?" With me and Tanya. So we're so happy to have you on. Unfortunately, it's after that derby, but still, it's always a pleasure to see your beautiful faces. So yeah, let's get into it. Going on to that game, unfortunately, we didn't exactly show up. But it does always seem like to be the problem. We don't show up against a top half team or like a top 10 team, and they were 10th, and we just don't show up. So I'm going to go to Maya first. Like, what are your thoughts on the derby? Like, generally, what went wrong?
I just want to say, because obviously I was on a stream on Friday with Tanya and Ryan, and I said, I don't want to see Lamela start because I don't trust him in a North London derby. And to be fair, he didn't start. Yeah. But oh my God, it was written in the stars. Honestly, it really was. But I do have to praise him though for his performance.
Oh yeah. And you're a person that likes Lamela. Like you always generally like Lamela. Yeah.
I tell you what, I do get a lot of stick for it, and understandably, because we've had him for how long and how much has he done for us. I do get that, but I just look at him when he plays, and I can see his ability. I can see that there is a player in there somewhere, and we saw it on Sunday with that incredible goal. But yeah, no, there's only a few players to praise really, and it's weird that I'm praising Lamela because he got sent off. But I think when he was on the pitch, he just injected what the North London derby needed, and that the rest of the players on the pitch weren't showing, apart from maybe one or two. Generally, my thoughts on the game: it was flat. We were poor. I mean, it was a questionable penalty. I can see why it was given. I could also see why Jose and other people weren't happy, but I'm not going to dwell on that too much. I don't think we deserved to win the game, to be honest. So it doesn't really matter whether it was a penalty or not. Because I think we did not deserve that game. We invited a very mediocre 10th place Arsenal, whose defence is questionable at times, to play on to us. And I think Jose was to blame. I think the players were to blame. I think they both need to take accountability together. It wasn't very good, but I just want to move forward and think about tomorrow now, to be honest. It's out of my mind.
This is we're filming this on Wednesday, by the way, so this is before the Europa game. That I agree with everything you've said, to be honest. I do think it was slow and flat. I feel like everyone takes blame mutually. Abby, do you have anything to add to that? Welcome to the show, firstly. And do you have anything to add to what Maya said? Because I think you've hit nail on the head.
Yeah, I think Miles spot on. They just didn't turn up. We frequently see Spurs not turn up when it comes to derbies, not just North London ones, against Chelsea, West Ham. It's not just, under Jose. We've seen it under Pochettino. We've seen it many a time. And I agree with you, Lamela, when he came on for Son. I actually quite like Eric Lamela. I have nothing against him. Yes, he has been there a long time. He hasn't done what he was brought in to do, which was replace Gareth Bale. All those years ago. But what you get from Eric Lamela when he plays is passion, and you get drive, and yes, he's very, very one-footed, but I like what he can inject into that team when he does play. I like that he understands what a derby's about, and I think that if more of our players understood what a derby's about, then maybe we wouldn't have been in that position on Sunday. We absolutely did not deserve to win. But then again, for all of Arsenal's chances and how much better they were than us, we gave it to them with that penalty. Whether or not it's a penalty, again, it's up for debate. But I just don't want to see Tottenham play like that. There was no need to play like that. And when I saw the team, I had no issue with it, apart from obviously Matt Doherty. I think everyone was thinking what's going on there. But it was, exactly the team I would have picked otherwise. And I expected them to go out. I thought they were going to press high. I thought they were going to exploit Arsenal's weaknesses, and unfortunately Arsenal exploited ours, and we just sat back and took it. Whether or not that comes down to Jose telling them to do that, or the players just not being up for it, I don't know. We've seen Jose say loads of times that he doesn't ask them to play in that way. I guess there's something obviously getting lost in communication, because we've seen it quite a few times this season. But like Maya said, I just want to get past it. We're on to the next one. Bigger fish to fry. Aston Villa is massive now. Even bigger than it was before. So we just got to move on from it.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with everything you said. Tans, we heard a little rant. We all know what your rants are like during game, but what are you feeling like after that game?
I just think we couldn't have got a better opportunity to beat Arsenal. When you look at the circumstances, Arteta didn't play Aubameyang, who, regardless of his recent form, is always going to be a threat. There was no fans in the stadium, which we had fans when we played the last North London derby. If we remember, there was, I'm sure, fans in the stadium, and we didn't turn up, and I think that's the most frustrating thing. I can accept losing to a better team on the day, it happens, but when you see players not turn up, and Jose actually said this in his post-match, that players were hiding, and I have to agree. We have to be honest and say Kane didn't really perform, although I argue that what was he supposed to do? He wasn't getting any service. Players like Ndombele and Højbjerg I felt were really poor. I mean, the whole team was poor. But I do just feel very disappointed with Jose and the players for not wanting to go at this, as Maya said, very poor Arsenal team, and not try and, play on those mistakes that Arsenal have in them. They've gifted teams so many goals this season. I think our approach, sitting back, we've got the attacking players of the pitch. We know they can make mistakes. Try and press them. Try and go for it. But I don't know. I would love to be a fly on the wall, because I don't know who to blame. I really don't.
I mean, this kind of segues into my next point, as in Jose keeps saying to us, as we keep hearing, I'm not telling them to press. I'm not telling them not to press. I'm telling them to press. I'm not telling them to sit back. It's not me. They're just not listening. Now, for me personally, either way, that's a worry. Either if they're not listening to you and you're giving instruction, have you lost the dressing room? Why are they not listening? Or, are you the one telling them to sit back? Because either way, it's a worry. Maya, I'll come to you first. Like, what do you think on that point? Because he has said it a few times this season, and it's kind of like a bit worrying. We can't sack a whole team, so how do we solve it?
It's an interesting one, because if we look at Jose Mourinho as a manager and his style of play, it's not hugely attacking. We all know that. So I think we expect a more defensive than attacking Tottenham. We know we weren't going to see the Tottenham that we saw under Pochettino. That was never going to happen. However, if you look at how Jose Mourinho has won as many trophies as he has done playing that style of football, one, it is down to the fact that back then that style of football didn't necessarily seem outdated. Now we see more, Manchester City's, and this style of football that Jose's playing is, you know, people, dinosaur tactics, whatever you want to call it. But also those teams that you had playing that style of football, they were playing it to the absolute best of their ability. They were working as a collective. If they did press as one. On the counter, it always worked. It was just great defensive football. He is the master of it. The problem is he's playing defensive football with a team that has a very, very mediocre defence. Defence is in the word is part of the word defensive, which is his style of football. How does that work? It just doesn't add up. I think I saw someone put out a poll on Twitter. I can't think who it was. Might have been Neeks, and it was something about, do you think Jose is overachieving, underachieving, or was it you, Tanya?
Yeah, it was me. Yeah. I'm gonna know that was me.
And I was sat there for ages, really, really thinking about this, and I do genuinely think he hasn't got a very good defence to work with. I really don't think he does. He has a couple of good players in there, maybe one, Reguilon. Other than that, he's not working with great defenders. So for him to be a defensive manager working with bang average defenders, a part of me does, you know, and I'm not saying Jose isn't to blame at all, because he does get it wrong sometimes, but he's not working with great defenders. And whether he is not telling them to go out and play that way, who knows? But what we can see as fans is that they're actually not playing that style of football very well. And that's how Jose Mourinho has gotten success in the past. You know, he's mastered this style of football. So it's a difficult one.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, yeah, his defence is poor, but as a top manager, you know, being one of the top tacticians, I would like to think he should be able to adapt a bit more than he has been. Don't just play one style with mediocre players. Abby, what's your thoughts? Because I tend to agree with a lot you say. Viewers are gonna know what that means, and she's not as bad as me, trust me. But
believe it or not, I'm not a Jose out. I'm really not. I mean, the back end of last season, I wasn't really very happy. And, you know, I think a lot of that comes on from the knock-off effect of Pochettino. Look, I'm very much over it now. I can appreciate what Pochettino did. You know, I think he's a fantastic coach, manager, whatever, but we have to move on. So, start of the season, I kind of drew a line under it, and I thought, you know what, let's go with Jose. He's our manager. Let's back him. Let's see what he has to offer. Let's give him a fair crack. So I'm not Jose out. I'm not necessarily Jose in, but he is our manager. He has, I think if anyone is going to win a trophy with this team, I think he is the only possible person that's going to do it. Like Maya said, you know, he is a defensive coach. He would never shy away from that. He absolutely loves a clean sheet. He loves seeing proper defenders defend. That is him, is his bread and butter. You know, at the previous teams he's been at, you know, Chelsea, when he's had the John Terrys, at Inter, at Madrid, you have to look at the personnel he has in his squad. And, you know, you have a look at us, and, you know, he's been playing Eric Dyer. I think he was desperate to mould Eric Dyer into, you know, a world-class centre-half. However, sometimes it just doesn't happen. Like, it's the quality just isn't there to take you to where you want to be. You know, we all know that Toby is a Rolls Royce. Unfortunately for Toby, he's getting a little bit older. You know, and then you're left with Davinson Sanchez, who the jury's always been out, I think, across, you know, every fan on Davinson Sanchez. You know, we lost Jan Vertonghen, who was, you know, such a solid rock for us all those years. And then obviously you've got Joe Rodon, and Joe Rodon, he's hardly played. I've enjoyed seeing him when he has played. You know, I don't think it's fair to make a proper judgment on him yet. I don't think he's played enough. But you're asking, you know, the manager who wants to play defensively to you know, make Davinson Sanchez or Eric Dyer into a world-class centre-half. And it's just not going to happen. Like, and I think that he has adapted, actually. You know, whatever happened on Sunday. And I think that is 50-50 with the blame. But if you have a look over the last couple, you know, 3 weeks or so, when we started to play a bit more positively, I think he's realised in the last 2 months where it's all gone downhill, Up until that point, he's realised I'm flogging a dead horse here. There's absolutely no point in me asking them to sit and defend when it's clearly not happening. Let's utilise what we've got in Gareth Bale, Son, Kane, Moura. Steven Bergwijn has dropped off the face of the earth. And I can only think that's because he's probably told Jose, I was brought in here to, to not track back, to not be a defender. I'm here to, play on the wing and get goals. And he's just completely dropped off of the earth. So whether or not we see him again will be interesting to see when he pops up. But I think he actually was surrendering to, not having it all his way. And I think he was compromising, aside from what happened Sunday. And I think that's something that's rare, because we've never seen Jose, turn and pivot on his tactics before. At United, we never saw it happen. At Chelsea, we never saw it happen. And that's why he ended up getting sacked. But I think he was learning from his mistakes and trying to adopt a bit more of an attacking approach, and realising actually what Spurs were good at, and getting rid of the part they're not good at. They're probably not going to keep a clean sheet. They're not going to be able to defend for 90 minutes. So let's just focus on going forward. Whether or not we bounce back from Sunday and we carry on how we were prior to that, in that 3-week period where we look more positive, we can only hope. But you never know. He might just revert back and say, well, I told you to go and attack and you didn't, so now you're just going to sit there and take it.
Yeah. See, the only worry I have with that is every time we've played attacking has been lower league teams. We've got 8 straight defeats against top half sides, and we've played the same way against top half sides. Everyone has given Liverpool a game, and we haven't been able to do that. For example, we didn't even try to do that. It seems like Arsenal 10th, and we went to the Emirates and sat back. If they're not listening, they're not listening. That's to me a worry in itself.
I would say on the Liverpool thing, the when we went to Anfield and we played them just before Christmas,
that was fine.
I felt like it very nearly worked, his plan. It really did nearly work. And you know what? It was one mistake that we made and it cost us. Okay. And then you saw after that the repercussions. We could not bounce back. You saw us lose to Leicester. And then from that point, it was just downhill. But you look at how Liverpool were at that time. And even when we played them in January, not the same Liverpool you're looking at now. And it only takes a few more injuries here and there. And then it's not the team. I totally agree with you. Our record is appalling, you know, against those top half sides.
Yeah.
But I think with Liverpool, I think that we just have to be mindful of the fact that, you know, Liverpool have obviously got themselves into a little bit of a rut at the moment. And you know, I think that we were unlucky that day because
in the away game, but not the home game.
Not the home game. But I think the away game is when it all kind of switched, and it was unfortunate because I actually felt we didn't go and attack the game, but most teams don't go and attack Liverpool. Maybe more so now, but prior to the extra injuries, no one went to Anfield and attacked the game.
My issue was not going to Anfield and not attacking. It was more being at home, being 2-1 down and having 4 attempts. That was my issue, because we were 2-1 down at the time, and I felt like this is how he wants to play against these teams, and I don't want to be scared against every top half team, and that's the narrative I think he's sort of setting. And like, I don't enjoy watching. I enjoy like West Brom, brilliant. Like Burnley, I get you're not going to play that against everyone, but you could have played differently against like an Arsenal, for example, or you know, a Chelsea at home. I get Chelsea, right, but we didn't even look like we went to win that game at all.
No.
So it's always against the top half side that it worries me. Like Villa, I would love us to go back to playing like that, but I don't want to be like, oh, you know, every time we come to a top 10 team, we just revert back into our shells. If that's the players or the manager, something needs to be done behind the scenes, because it's just not clicking. And that, like everyone said, it was our best chance to beat Arsenal at the Emirates. Tans, what are your thoughts on, like, you know, the manager saying press, the players not listening? What's your thoughts on it?
I don't know, because I guess I don't think Jose is the manager long term. That's just my personal view. But when I did see the reports of him apparently on that touchline saying press, if players are then not responding to that, you know, who do you blame in that situation? People have said that it's the same players that threw Poch under the bus. However, I would argue that, you know, you've got players like Reguilon, he was an under Poch, Gareth Bale, Doherty. You know, we have actually got some new players there. So I can agree with you, Eleanor, in the sense that that's a bit worrying to me. Is the dressing room, is something going on that we don't know about? On Kane especially, I think he just wasn't fit. I think that's just my view. I don't think he was fit. But you know what? Besides the tactics, I think my issue with Jose as well, we need to talk about his substitutions as well and his decision making at times. I mean, I don't know if we'll go into it. I feel like we should just have a segment on how poor Doherty is. But
yeah, no, we will talk on Doherty.
For me, it was so obvious that he needed to come off and Aurier needed to come on. You know, Arsenal were down that left-hand side. Tierney was having a field day. And this is where I'm like, you know, a master tactician like Jose, surely you need to make changes. And I just think the changes in that game for me didn't work. Sissoko taking off Gareth Bale, who, I don't get me wrong, I think he wasn't playing well and he didn't help Doherty by not tracking back. But those free kick situations, for example, if Gareth was on that pitch, you never know what could have happened. And Gareth, he just needs a moment. So they're my other concerns that I have with Jose. I just think some of his decision making and his management of players, you know, Son is injured. I saw that coming. I think he's been massively overplayed.
Oh yeah, we were going to touch on that.
But look, like we've all said, I don't even want to think about that game now because it just gets me so angry and disappointed. Because I just think it's points drop. Really, we wouldn't have got a better opportunity like we did, but.
I think we've always struggled at the Emirates. There's no denying that under any manager. We've always struggled at the Emirates. It's just not ever been our place. We always draw, even when we've been miles the better team. It's just for me the approach was just annoying because they're not any better. Like they're not. Like, do you know what I mean? That's the only thing, and we made them look good. But Maya, let's go to you because let's go to a bit more positive stuff. We are so close to the top four. We are still. We've got a game in hand on Chelsea. We've got Villa next, and we could be 3 points away. Do you think we will get top four? Do you think top four is even in sight? So are we going straight for the Europa? I know you got ahead soon, so I thought I'd come to you first. Give us your round up thoughts, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll round up for you. Top four? No. In my opinion, I hate to be a pessimist. I don't feel like I'm a pessimistic fan. I feel like I'm a realistic fan. And I think looking at the teams around us, if Liverpool start to pick up form, if West Ham, and I know it's West Ham, but my God, they look all right. They really do. If they continue in form, Chelsea, they're not scoring a lot of goals under Tuchel, but they're winning. And they're finding ways to win and they're finding ways to draw. Everton, I just don't see top four happening personally. I really don't. I think top six is very possible. We need to start finding consistent form. The form that we were in before Sunday was good. It really was. But like you said, it was against Palace and Burnley and teams in the Europa League that I can't even spell. So we need to find form, and it comes from Saturday. Like we were saying, Saturday is so important for so many reasons. Villa are a good side. I'm pretty sure I've seen that Grealish is bound to be back fit for Saturday.
Of course he is.
And typical. I know it's just typical. So Villa is so important for so many reasons. I think top six is possible. I do. I'm not even bothered about top four, I think, anymore. I want top six. I want the League Cup or the Europa League. And I think that's what Tottenham generally should be aiming for, in my opinion.
Do you think we've got a chance in, I understand the final's the final, but do you think we've got a chance in the Europa? I mean, I think there is a very good chance. But, just getting your thoughts on all of it, because you got ahead.
Yeah, I did. I've had a conversation over the last few days with the guys at work, and they think I'm crazy because City, of course, are insane. But I've made a point that I don't believe Tottenham can beat Man City. I think Jose Mourinho can beat Man City, and the guy knows he just knows how to win. He does. And we've seen City beaten now by Manchester United, so who knows? I know City, they'll want to get the quad or the treble, but I really do think Jose Mourinho has a good chance if everyone's fit, if everyone's, you know, really up for it, not like how we performed on Sunday.
Yeah.
Then I think we've got a good chance. Yeah.
It's 90 minutes, and the best manager you can have for a 90-minute game is Jose Mourinho. That's always what I've said. For a final, for one game, he's brilliant. It's the long-term thing that is my issue, but I totally understand why you'd need Jose Mourinho against Pep Guardiola in a final. Like, it's pretty much
with that,
like certain.
I think with that final, to be honest, I actually don't trust the players. I trust Jose in that situation. It's the players and their bottle, because let's be honest, we've been in a lot of a lot of semis, and every big moment.
Semis.
I know, semis final trophy. Any big moment, we seem to bottle it. Let's be honest about it. So actually, it's the players now. They've got to mentally get themselves prepared for that final and be up for it. For sure.
But their problem is always mentality, you know, and that's why I don't always think it matters who's in charge. It's you know, a lot of you know, like we said, there are new players in that side, but fundamentally they are still majority of the players that were there under Pochettino. You know, look how many semi-finals they bottled, big moments, you know, chances, you know, when we should have won the league, you know, come third in a 2-horse race, you know, things like that. And for me, it's fundamentally, you know, it's a mentality thing. And they're the same players that, you know, moaned about being trained, you know, having double sessions and being worked too hard under Mourinho, under Pochettino. They're the same players that say they're not being trained hard enough under Mourinho. There's never a happy medium. Look, I love our squad. You know, certain aspects of it I think are, you know, world class. We're getting any side across Europe. The likes of obviously Kane, even Gareth Bale, Heung-min Son. You know, I think Ndombele is world class as well. But I think that it's mental, and I think that is always our problem. And I think that stems from the top personally and seeps its way down. But I totally agree. I think if anyone is going to win that, it is Jose. And you know, you're bang on saying that it's you know, Jose will win that. It's probably not going to be, you know, the quality of our team compared to City. It's going to be the tactics in it, and it's going to be how he can manage that game.
It's all man management, getting in their heads and doing all that. Maya, I know you have to shoot, so where can everyone find you? She's doing amazing stuff, so definitely go and check that out. We'll be here for another half an hour.
So it's at Maya Graham. You'll find me mostly on Twitter, sometimes on the terrace, just flitting about doing different streams, mostly talking Tottenham. So follow me if you want to hear all things Tottenham.
Definitely follow her, and she'll be back on here very shortly when she's not working 100 hours. She will be back here. Thanks so much for coming on.
Take care, Maya.
Thanks for having me. Bye. See you later, girls.
Bye.
So I mean, I totally agree that, you know, within that final it's definitely going to be like a mentality thing, but I just think that, you know, it's a final, it's a one-off game. For me, the Europa is my worry, because it's like we haven't faced anyone decent yet, and like that's no disrespect, it's just like in general they've all been like the top, like the bottom 3 tiered teams in the competition and such. So I feel like I worry about, you know, getting through such a long competition with like such good teams still in there, especially the English teams. So like, Abby, what do you think on the Europa hope?
I always say that, you know, the Europa League is a marathon. It's not a sprint, and it's you know, until we get to the next round, hopefully that's what actually when it starts. So, you know, we've already played a ridiculous amount of games to get to this point, and it doesn't really get going until the next round. Yes, we've been lucky with the draws, which is something that's not typical of Tottenham, but it makes a nice change.
Effect.
It does. Look, Zagreb aren't look, they were a nice draw to get. They're not the easiest team in the world. You know, we played them before in the same competition, obviously when it was UEFA Cup. You know, I think we did very well to avoid the AC Milans, the Romas, the Ajaxes. And give us a real chance in it. I personally feel that we have a good chance. I would love to avoid an English team. I don't think my nerves could actually hack it.
No North London derbies in Europe, please.
Please God, none of that. But
I want them, actually. I want them. Over two legs, we've got a better chance. Over two legs.
I can't handle playing them once. I feel sick the night before. I'm practically dying throughout the game. Imagine 2 legs.
And also I think it just takes the shine off of it. I mean, I love playing European teams. I love, the idea of doing that. I don't want to play someone we have to play twice already, and you might get them in another domestic cup. I think that as we see the rest of the season go on, I think if we see us, not be able to pick up form in the Premier League, over the next kind of 2-3 games, I think that he'll just put all his eggs in that Europa League basket. I don't disagree with doing that either. If you can if you can win that Europa League, not only do you get a European trophy, regardless of what people say about it, which is what Tottenham desperately need. Obviously, you get Champions League as well, so it's 2 birds with one stone. It'll be very difficult, but I think that probably as the season wears on and we probably don't look like we're going to get top 4, I think he'll just go full pelt on that. He always measures success in trophies anyway. And I look, whether or not we win the Carabao Cup, and if that happens, I actually think that'll be a massive turning point for us in general. I think that if we were to manage to do that, I think I'd have no qualms actually about us going on and winning the Europa League if we were still in it. I think that it would just change the whole mentality, because everyone always says it just takes one trophy to try to change the mindset, and they'll come through. So I think that'll be really, really important for Spurs in terms of mentally and how they're going to finish the end of the season. But I really think that we'll see him put so much more emphasis and play the stronger side on a Thursday night as this progresses, if we're just not going to pick up any form in the league. He always joked about the top 4 trophy. It's not a trophy to finish in the top 4. He wants to win things. That is why he's at this club. He's come here because Daniel Levy saw him as the final piece of this puzzle. Not to get top 4. We could have stayed with Pochettino, and I believe we would have still consistently got top 4. But it's about trophies at the end of the day, and I think we're all desperate to win a trophy. That's the thing, we really are. But my worry is playing the way we are against good sides. I don't see how we're going to win a trophy playing that way. It's got there's all this name and CV, but I've got to see it on the pitch for my team as well. I feel I don't want to judge things on everything you did for other teams. I want to judge on what you're doing at my team, and nothing you're showing me against a good side is making me feel like we're gonna win a league. Having Kane and Son win a Europa League, having Kane and Son overperform in the first half of the season doesn't really equate to a European trophy. But if we play the way we can do, and we have a team that has Kane, Son, Bale and Ndombele, Højbjerg, Reguilon, Uriah's not too bad, definitely over Doherty, and then you've just got the defence as an issue. A lot of teams shouldn't want to face that team. You've got Delhi on the bench. A lot of we can do things. I just think just because we don't have good defenders doesn't mean we can't get results in any other ways. And I feel like that is a scary attack. And I believe in our players, maybe a bit too much, because I genuinely like a lot of our players. Maybe I'm too sentimental, but I genuinely like a lot of them. And I feel like we can do stuff. We can win games, and we have a team that can go toe-to-toe with a lot of teams. Maybe not everyone, obviously, but we have a team that can actually score goals and harm teams. Because if you think I've got to mark Bale, I've got to mark Son, I've got to mark Ndombele, I've got to mark Kane. You've got so many attacking outlets. The way we played against Palace and Burnley, hopefully we can see that a bit more. But Tans, what are your thoughts with the top 4? Is it still on? Are we going for the Europa? What do you think?
I'm telling you, all eggs need to go in that Europa League basket for me, because Maya's already said it. I just think other teams in the league, unfortunately, are performing better than us. And for me, that Arsenal game was a must win for us to even be in contention. I know we've still got a game in hand, and look, who knows? Chelsea could lose their next game, West Ham could lose their next game, Everton could lose, Arsenal could lose. I mean, they're not in the top 4 conversation, but then it could be possibly on again. But at the moment, I think he just has to go for that Europa League, because like Abby's already said, you get 2 things really. You get a trophy and you get Champions League. Who's going to complain about that? I do think we've got a chance because of the 2 leg thing. And that's why I would actually rather Arsenal, in the earlier stages than have them in the final. That's what I don't want. So I would much prefer to play them over 2 legs than in a final.
It doesn't even bear thinking about that is an option. I just don't think any of our nerves would like it.
Because we're both in the same position. I mean, both of us are looking at that Europa League now as kind of like last chance saloon, really, for Champions League football. So it could happen. There are still some very good teams in it. But look, I agree with you, Eleanor. I know some people say, is the squad that great? I would like to disagree. I think we have got the players there. We've got very good players in this team. It's just down to us to perform on the day, and for Jose to motivate the players, set us up right tactically, and get the job done.
This might be just like man management in their heads, getting in their head. Maybe they're just not listening because they don't like to be told they're crap. Maybe, I don't know. Back in the day, that might have worked for Jose. I mean, we know it worked, but now you can't just shake a player and tell them to be good. Now, now you've got to be their friends, otherwise they just stop playing for you. So like it's different. I feel like his man management might be outdated. Like for example, Atletico played this sort of football and it's working still. For example, it's not defensive football's not outdated. I don't know if it's man management is outdated because I feel like it's very hard to motivate a player now. That everyone's sort of like prima donnas now, isn't it? You can't be told you're rubbish, stop playing better. They just stop performing for you.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen that in Delhi. He put his arm around him, he started performing. Then obviously he got a bit lazy. He might have started calling him out. Now he sort of dropped off totally. So it's like we have seen his man management skills not sort of decrease over the years, and I think that's more the issue rather than tactics. Because tactics, I think any manager can pull off if your team's working for you 100%. I mean, Burnley sort of play the style of football we play, and they have a lot of less players, but they get their job done to their degree, obviously, because they all work for it. Whereas if we worked for it and like believed in it, I feel like we could get it done. I think it's more man management. That's what I'm worried about. Is he losing that dressing room? But hopefully we can put all our eggs in that Europa basket. We get Champions League, we get a major European trophy, another thing to laugh at Arsenal about because they don't really know what European success is. So it's great. But yeah, I believe we'll probably go for Europa over top 4. I think that top 4, we're fighting for one place with about 3 or 4 teams. And I think it's just too much to ask of a team that has dropped off so much. So then we need to win more than lose or draw. And that's just, obviously, we're so inconsistent. So I think, cup games, we got the best manager for a cup competition. And I think we might as well go for it all out, regardless of what's going to happen next season. Let's just put all our eggs into it and try and get this major European trophy and get Champions League again, because it's a great way through the back door to get in. But we have heard some reports this week that there is no money. There's no money unless we sell players, which is annoying. But hey, we know what Tottenham's about by now. So yeah, especially with no fans. So yeah, apparently there's no money. So who do we think are we going to sell? Is it going to be the Kane and Sons to sort of rebuild a team, or are we going to see the players we want to? What do we think is going to happen in the summer? Abby, I'll come to you. You don't have to give anything if you have any inside information, by the way.
I don't. I can assure you I don't have any inside. What do I think? I wouldn't blame Harry if he left. He's 27. He's been an incredible servant to the club. We all absolutely idolise the guy. He's so good. He deserves to win trophies. So look, it would be heartbreaking if he left, but would I begrudge him it? No. Do I think he'll go? Increasingly more and more every week? No. Purely for the fact that I think that Daniel Levy will want 150 million, maybe even more for him, because to Tottenham, he's priceless. So he can kind of slap whatever price tag he wants on Harry Kane because he's still in contract. And he can do what he wants in that sense. So for me, if you're looking at Harry Kane, who's 27, or, someone like Haaland is going to cost you probably the same amount, or, people will look at Mbappe, who will cost you even more, or, the situation with Lionel Messi this summer, he's going to go to one of 2 teams, and it's who's going to pay the wage, right? So once that, it's all going to be like chess. Once that moves, something else will move and so on. But I just think that when you look at age. And if that's the price tag that we're going to slap on Harry Kane, yes, he's got the experience, but I just think that if you're a Manchester City or a Manchester United, or you know, a PSG, I think PSG desperately want Lionel Messi, as far as, you know, from what I'm aware of, and I think that we'll see, you know, City or United fighting over a Haaland or someone like that. Because of the age situation. So I think that will bode well in Spurs' favour. Obviously, you know, last summer as well, COVID, teams couldn't probably afford to come in and get Harry Kane. I think Hugo Lloris will go. So that's going to be a big wage chunk off of our thing. You know, would still get probably a pretty price for Hugo Lloris. You know, whether or not they cash in on Son, I hope not. But I would think that if, I don't know, I just have this feeling, because obviously he was in talks to sign a new contract. It was very hot and it's gone completely cold. So that's where I kind of, I genuinely don't know anything, by the way. So it's just a hunch, it's just a feeling, and I really hope I'm wrong. But I think if they were going to cash in on someone, I think it might be Son. You know, they'll get a really nice fee for Son. I think anywhere between 70 and 90 million they could probably ask for him. And you know, with that money you can bring in and do what you need to do. And obviously we need a whole new defence, realistically, bar obviously Reguilon. I think we'll still keep Aurier. I don't think they'll do much there, unfortunately, because I think the main focus will be having two new centre halves, you know, and going from that and rebuilding from the back. Obviously, if we sell Lloris, we'll have to bring in a new keeper. Loads of links to Nick Pope, which is probably likely on the cards.
I don't mind that.
Yeah, so I think that. Look, we say we don't have money, and we probably don't ever have, you know, a ridiculous amount of money. But I think the Gareth Bale situation would be interesting, whether or not we decide to, you know, keep him or if we send him back. But like last summer, we didn't think we were going to spend any money, and we ended up with, you know, 9 or 10 new players, you know, whether it was a loan or this or that. So Daniel Levy is very, very clever. He'll always find a way how to do it. Look, we're not going to be bringing in Lionel Messi. We're not going to bring in Mbappe or anyone like that. But there's always a way. I wish. There's always a way around it. And I think that, I think depending on whether or not we win the Europa League, I think that will be completely a different story as to maybe what funds are available come the summer. But like I said, I hope I don't see Son leave. But I just think that potentially, out of, you know, the front two, him and Kane, I think that probably he'd be the more likely one to go because of the price tag I think that we'd put on him.
Yeah, I mean, I was literally going to say about the Son contract thing, how we had a contract pretty much lined up and then it just went completely silent. And that does worry me. I know they said it's not the right time to talk about a contract, but it was the right time before. So what changed? And it is really scary because he's just, you know, we love him. We all love him here. But just generally, it does make sense. But my issue is I don't trust this board with the money. I like, my worry is, yeah, you get that money and then we'll go and end up doing what we did with the Bale money, you know, buying 7 or 8 very mediocre players. One ends up staying for 7 years and doesn't do much. So like I genuinely, that just worries me that I've had that experience with Kyle Walker, for example. We didn't reinvest properly. We always expect our backups to end up being our first team players. That's just the way it is at Tottenham. Like we sell Kyle Walker, we expect Ben Davis, we you know, we had, you know, Trippier, sorry, and then we sold Trippier. Like it just seems like that's always our way. Danny Rose dropped off. We then expect Ben Davis to take the Danny Rose role. It's just, we always expect our backups to then end up being our first team. And I feel like what we'd end up doing is buying a bunch of backups, hope to train them up, and then end up being first team players. And that's what worries me with selling a great asset like that and not rebuilding the way everyone says that's the way Liverpool did it. I don't believe we'll fund the way Liverpool funded. That's just like my worry with it. Tans, what do you think on all of this? Do you think Kane is going? Do you think Son's going? What's your thoughts?
There's a really strange noise. To be honest, I think it all depends on us at the end of the season, the position that we're in. I think if we don't get any silverware and we finish, say, 7th or 8th, I just can't see him staying around for another project. And to be honest, I don't think he should either. I think he's been such a good servant to the club. And look, pundits say it all the time, he deserves to be winning trophies. And let's be honest about it. In terms of trophies, what big trophies are Spurs realistically going to win in the next couple of years? I can't see us winning the Prem, and I can't see us winning the Champions League, because we are going to have to go through a rebuild. As much as I don't want Kane or Son to leave, I do, however, feel like we are going to get big money for them. And if it is a case of we have to sell to buy, they're the two players that come to mind in terms of getting a big fee. As much as I'd like to see Davinson Sanchez out the door, I don't know how much we would get for him, because he's just not performed. And and then you've got Eric Dyer signed a new contract. You know, it's a bit of a tricky one.
Do you argue that is his defence? Because he did give Eric Dyer and Toby Alderweireld 2 new contracts.
Yeah.
So everyone says he hasn't got his defence. I'm sorry, you wanted Eric Dyer, you wanted Toby. Work with them.
I think with the Toby one, it was more for the fact that he was going to go on a free. So I think that was purely why they gave the contract to Toby. Obviously, maybe they will actually catch in on him.
Our best player, our best defender.
True, but you've got to look at the age. You know, for him and Vertonghen to both have gone on a free, it would have just been criminal. So obviously that's why, for me, that's why they gave Toby the contract. I think that actually they'll probably look to maybe move Toby on this summer and get a little bit. It wasn't a very long contract. I think it was only maybe 2 years, if I can remember rightly. Eric Dyer, another one. I think that, you know, a lot of the time they make them sign a new contract purely for the fact that when they come to put them in the transfer window, they can ask for more because they're in a long-term contract. Of course, the longer you wind your contract down, you know, if you've got a year left, you know, you kind of want to take whatever price because you don't want to go on a free. Look what happened to Moussa Dembele. We let it get to a point where it was 12 million or keep him to the end of the season. Hindsight's a beautiful thing.
Point,
we should have just, you know, forgot about the 12 million. It's not going to get you very far.
Dyer, we know that he wanted Dyer though. Like Dyer wasn't a thing of I'm going to get you signed a contract to then sell you on. You're calling him a good player. You sung his praises till the cows came home. So you signed Eric Dyer as a player to be as your main centre back. Like don't shy away from it now because it ain't worked. Like Jose, like don't. If it worked, we would all be praising you. So that Dyer is his defender. Like he was pretty much out the team under Poch. You know, in the doc we saw it.
On players we could sell though, I think Harry Winks is a player that we could potentially offload because we've got the likes of Skip who can come back and his replacement's pretty much there with Skip. And you know, it was rumoured that City wanted him for 40 million. I wish we took that. And if someone like that comes knocking again, I tell you what, Daniel Levy, you need to let him go. I'd take that money any day of the week. I think Moussa Sissoko, I think we'll move him on. I think he's 31 years old. He's not going to get any better. So look, I think there could be some outgoings in the summer. It's just how much are we going to get for them? And we do need centre backs. And unfortunately, in today's market, with the COVID situation, centre backs, they're not going to come cheap, especially top class ones. So I think Levy probably has to be very, very smart in the summer with who we get in for sure. Hopefully we get players in anyway.
Well, this is the thing. I don't know if we need to sell Dele. Dele seems like he's a valuable asset still. He's young, but he's hardly played. So how much can we possibly get? Abby, you sounded like you wanted to say something. Go.
My thing with Dele is that I think that he was going to PSG, you know, and the only reason that didn't materialize is down to Daniel Levy. I think he feared that if he was to go, you know, we were to sell him and it'd be, you know, a bit of, not that I'm comparing him to Kevin De Bruyne, but a Kevin De Bruyne situation when Chelsea let him go and something like that. There is still a lot of potential in Dele.
It was the manager,
I think there's a lot of potential in Dele Alli, personally.
Yeah, I totally agree.
He gets a lot of stick. You know, people say, well, what is he actually good at? Yes, you're right. There's not one specific thing Dele's good at, but Dele, you know, I think that Dele can. I believe he can still do something in a game. You know, I think that we probably will maybe cash in on him. I don't foresee that he's particularly happy. I don't think he can be very happy with what's gone on. But he is a valuable asset. Like you said, he's young. You know, in this market, you know, he's English. You can get good money for Dele. I just think that he was sceptical about letting him go at such, you know, important time of the season. You know, when when he could have been reintegrated. So I think that he's sat back and he thought, let's try and reintegrate you for the second half. Let's see what happens. Let's see if you can push on and regain some of that form, and then let's make a conscious decision in the summer.
Yeah, totally agree. Tans, what's your thoughts on Dele?
Again, he's a player that I'm just always conflicted with, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Ellen. I think we are quite sentimental with a lot of our players, and I'm like that with Dele. As much as I love Dele, I do sometimes get frustrated with him when he does get opportunities. I don't think he is saying to Jose, "Pick me." He's quite wasteful on the ball sometimes, but on the flip side, you could say, I think Jose doesn't play him consistently for him to get any sort of momentum. So I can see both sides, but I do feel like Dele was declining under Poch. People forget. So this isn't just a Jose thing. And I think we do need to look at his age and the fact that he is an English player. He is still very talented. We could get a lot for him. And I just think in our team, in our current state under Jose, sadly, I don't think he fits in, because we've seen the likes of Lamella play ahead of him, Mora. Where does he fit in? It's sad, because I love Dele and I think he's a great talent. On that season where we were, playing out of our skins and playing amazing football, he was brilliant. But unfortunately, we've not seen that Dele since then. So it's kind of like Abby said, I think in the summer we might have to consider letting him go, sadly.
Yeah, this is the thing. I agree with both of you. I don't want him to go, and I don't want him to end up being a De Bruyne where he goes and then ends up firing in it, winning Champions League with Poch, and it would just be like, both of you, really? So I don't want that to happen. And I love Dele. I think he's the sort of player that you watch on the ball and he just does. His flicks get annoying, but when they work and they're great. Yeah. He's kind of like one of them players that he's a naughty player. He's a bit annoying, but I like, as in for rivals. But I love that, but I get that, and I get he hasn't fit in. So if we're not going to play him, and he's got this valuable price tag, then we've got to look to, is that what's going to fund our rebuild?
And that's the frustration, because Abby touched on it already. But I personally think Dele wanted that PSG move, and my issue with our board is that, for me, if a player's head is elsewhere, I just think you should let him go. And I know that sounds brutal, but for me, he doesn't look like he's playing for the club anymore. And I just don't know if.
I don't think it's that he's. I get the feeling. I don't think it's that he's not playing for the club. I think he's probably just not playing for the manager. Yeah, I think I get the impression that obviously everything that's gone on with them two since Jose came in. It was all nicey, then it went completely cold. And I think that I think he wanted to go to PSG, and like I said, as far as I'm aware, it was just literally down to the board on that one. But I think that he's probably looking at this opportunity. He has been kind of reintegrated. He will feature tomorrow, I'm sure of it. And I think that, he'll be putting himself in the shop window these next few months. So it's in his best interest, when he does get the opportunity to perform for Spurs, to look good. Whether or not he, personally wants to leave, or if it is down to him and the manager and that issue, the manager he might not be there long term, past another 2 years, but he is there now, and that is the situation, whether we like it or not. I don't think he's going to get sacked anytime soon, unfortunately, Helena. But that's my opinion as well on Dele. I totally agree with you, Tanya. I think that he'll be looking to sell himself at this point. And I think that's a benefit for Spurs. I think that he needed that little bit of push, whether or not it's so he can get out the door. So be it. I want to see him, play to the best of his ability when he does get the opportunity for the rest of the season.
Yeah, agreed. I agree. I think it's a thing of, as you say, Jose's our manager now. If he's not going to play, do we look to sell him on, or is he now going to start showing that this is what I want to be? I want to be in this team and work his way in. It's just like we say, who do we? We need to build up some funds, and I don't know how much our deadwood is going to make. I mean, Harry Winks, Eric Dyer, Sanchez, Doherty, just you didn't work out. Let's send you off. No more Gooners in my team, okay? Like, we've got enough of you in Arsenal shirts. I don't need bad ones as well. We can forgive Harry Kane, but we can't forgive Yeah. So I just think like generally we need there's so much deadwood we can get rid of, but they're not valuable, so it's hard. But hopefully Delhi does show his worth, and like you say, it's in his best interest if he does want to go. But yeah, I mean, I think on our ambitions of the season, for me, what would make it a success, this is like what I'm moving on to now. For me, what would make the season a success would be, we need European football. For me, most likely we do need Champions League football, because I don't see how we're paying a manager so much money and not being Champions League. I understand top four is going to be hard, but getting the Europa and getting Champions League is incredible. So that would make it a success. But does anyone else see, like, if we make 6th and win the League Cup, or 8th and win the League Cup, is that a successful season? Or what would make this season successful? Abby, I'll come to you first.
I've said it since the beginning of the season, before we kicked off. For me, this season was all about trophy. I never thought we were going to get top 4 this year. To even be within a bit of a contention still after the way we've played the last couple of months shows you how open the league is. It shows you how COVID has affected all teams, injuries. It's been a really, really long season. It's still, a long way to the finish line. And there's lots of ups and downs. But for me, I was so imperative on getting a trophy this season. So, Carabao Cup. Yeah, I really want the Carabao Cup. People can say it's a Mickey Mouse Cup. I don't care. It's a piece of silverware. It's a piece of silverware
that's Tottenham since 2008.
Precisely. And for me, I don't care what trophy it is. It's a domestic trophy. It's it's a big trophy, I guess. And I want to see us win that. I want to see us win the Europa League. I always felt that our emphasis this season would be on cups and trophies, and runs like that. And I think it's right. And I think that, as I said, I think we'll see that more as the season goes on. I think that he'll adjust, his plans to fit with those, with the cup final. And I think also with the Europa League run, hopefully we can progress. And for me, that's what I will judge the season a success on. If you finish 10th and you've won 2 trophies in a season, plus you've got Champions League by winning the European one, I'm happy with that. That's absolutely fine with me, because we've actually achieved something. And, yes, amazing if we could just finish top 4. But then, this is where the debate always comes in. Are you happy with top 4? Just top 4? Do you view that as a trophy? Or would you rather have an actual trophy and finish top 4? And that's where everyone always, this is the Arsenal culture. Arsenal made top 4 an achievement. They made it a trophy. And yes, it is an achievement. You don't win a trophy. You don't win a trophy for it. As much as we all want to play Champions League football, Spurs have had amazing Champions League runs whenever we've been in it. But I want a trophy. And there comes a point where you've got to look at it and say, actually, you don't get a trophy for finishing top 4. You busted up to get there and you have nothing to show for it other than the fact that you have European football. I want to see us win something. And that is, for me, the most important thing out of this season. And then if we win 1 or 2 trophies, going out on a limb, if we win either or both, then you would have to say that it's a success that you appointed Jose Mourinho. He made the right decision. If he doesn't, if we win nothing this season and we finish 7th or 8th, then you have to ask serious questions as to why we got rid of Pochettino, or did we make the right choice in bringing Mourinho in, out of other managers. But I think I just think we can't pass judgment until we see how the end of the season goes. Yeah.
Would you consider finishing 10th and winning a League Cup as success?
No, would I consider it as success? Would I consider it as success? I'd have to say, I think it's a step. I want a trophy, so I think it's a step in the right direction of actually winning stuff. Would I be happy finishing 10th? No. Who's going to be happy finishing 10th? But you win a trophy, and I want a trophy, so I want some silverware. So if this season, if it has to happen that way, and we get a trophy out of it, then so be it. We go again next season, and hopefully our mentality would have changed about actually having a winning mentality from winning that.
Yeah. I agree, because it is a good point, Eleanor. It's a really good point. But I think that will depend on what we do the following season, because if the following season we finish outside the top 4 again and win nothing, that League Cup then becomes irrelevant to me. And I know that
True.
sounds crazy, but it does.
You know what? You've got a point as well.
Like Abby said, if it does mean that winning that trophy, regardless of us not getting Europa League or getting Champions League, if it means a change in mentality and the next season we take it into the next season, and we get top 4, you'd have to say that trophy really kind of motivated the players and it breeded a winning mentality, because I do believe trophies do that. My only argument is that, you know, we did win the cup back in 2008 and we didn't kick on from there, sadly, which is annoying. So look, I'm with Abby. I'm not going to change what I've always said. I said it doesn't matter what cup it is. I don't care what it's called. I just want to win any sort of silverware possible.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important for the DNA of the club. You know, we don't want to keep being called bottle jobs, you know, trophyless. It gets boring, doesn't it? It gets so boring, and you know, you want to have something to respond to when teams are like, yeah, but you've not won anything. It's like, well, actually, we have won something. I mean, I'd love to win the Europa League though, because that does give you the Champions League. But of course, I think we can't be picky, can we? any will do. And of course, look, I think we have to. As much as I don't want to be in Europa League again, it looks like it's going to happen, but we have to aim for top 6, like Maya said, and a trophy, because that is Jose's remit. Yeah. You don't bring in a manager of that credential and to not get a trophy. That'd be an absolute farce. You'd have to say, what on earth has gone wrong if Jose can't win us a trophy?
And you have to also look at that, if that did happen, and you'd have to say, well, clearly, you know, we've had managers, you know, we've had Harry Redknapp, we had Martignol, Harry Redknapp, Pochettino. Yep. You know, one manager has won us a trophy, the worst one in Juan de Ramos, right? And okay, yes, we didn't kick on for various reasons, but we did develop, you know, not because of the Carling Cup, but we have developed massively over the years. And, you know, if Jose Mourinho cannot win something with this team, you have to keep looking at the team itself, you know, because they are the common denominator, and the board and the club as a whole. That is where you have to look at if this manager cannot do it, because he's done it at every club. You know, he's done it with Porto when Porto, you know, were nothing back in the day. And like, if he can't do this with Spurs after, you know, how much progress we've made, the players that we have in our side, you've got to look at the squad in depth, and you've got to look at the club as a whole.
How Spursy would it be though for that to happen? It would just be so.
Of course it would.
The only thing I argue is he's been backed more than a lot of our managers in recent times. So he's got, you know, if Doherty hit the ground running, we'd all be sitting there saying, what a great signing, Jose Mourinho. Yeah. Everyone says they're not his signings when they do wrong, but like the good ones are his signings. So it's like, no, you agreed to these signings. You've got backed more than any other manager. This is what everyone's like, if Jose can't do it with this team, you got 7 players. You got 7 players, more than most other managers we've had.
And the thing is,
it annoys me because the narrative that, you know, if Jose can't do it, no one can. Is just not true.
And I think as well,
sorry, you can hire Ferguson tomorrow. He was not going to win everything the way he did back then. Like, it's just that things change. Like, things change. So I mean, we win that League Cup. I want to win the League Cup and the Europa. Still doesn't change the fact that for me, at the end of the season, we still got to look at what's going to take us forward. But I think that generally we need to go all out in this Europa because we need to win it. But go on, Tans.
Oh, do you know what? It's nothing. But I was just going to say that, you know, at the start of the season, let's be honest, we were all happy with that transfer window. I had 100%. Very high hopes. I actually 100%. Thought, you know what, top 4. Listen, it's on.
Doddle. That's what I thought. I was like, we're making top. Yeah. Top 4.
It's kind of like, well, if we don't, I don't know. It just stresses you out. I just want to win a trophy.
I think everything's an issue. I think there's an issue at Tottenham, as Abby said, it's them from the top. If there's no ambition from the top, it leaks to the manager, then it leaks to the players. And for example, you're bringing in, I don't know, your Sessegnons, a great prospect for the future, but you don't ever bring in someone ready. And we brought in a Gareth Bale, which still wasn't ready. You buy Gareth Bale and he still's not ready. So it's quite funny how, for me, the mentality does leak from the top, because they're always thinking, all right, what's just going to keep us getting stable, keep us, you know, in the top flight, but never really win any, never really push anything. That sort of leaks down, and we know what the board are okay with as players and fans. So the players definitely know, if we know. So I do think that leaks down as mentality, and I do think getting Jose Mourinho was a thing of, look, we're going to do something now. But for me, the board just hid behind not wanting to rebuild the squad, and they wanted to get a manager to patch over it, win something with this crop of players, and then look to rebuild after. That's what bothers me, that there's so many holes in this team that they need to address. You can't just expect to put like a plaster over a huge crack in this team, and that's what's happened. That we've had to go back to every backup, as I said, like in our defence now, which really annoys me.
Definitely.
But yeah, thank you all for coming on. That was brilliant. And I loved having the female panel. Yeah, it's like therapy, and it's great to do with all girls as well. It's been great. So hopefully, Abby, you're not a stranger to the show. It's been great.
No, whenever you want, just let me know. I'm more than happy to come on whenever you'd like.
Brilliant.
You've done it everywhere. You're doing amazing things. So we genuinely really value your opinion here.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for jumping on. Where can everyone find you if they don't know? If you don't know what you're doing on Twitter. But anyway,
you can find me on Twitter, obviously, at Abby_Summers, and on Instagram too, at Abby Summers. No underscore on Instagram.
And all the amazing things she's doing for women in football, it is great. We're all rooting for you. So thanks for doing that for us. It also gives us inspiration. So it's great. And shout out to Maya as well, that was here. She's doing great things. Definitely go check her stuff out. Tans, where can everyone find you? We have this conversation every week.
So it's at Tanya_Leona on Twitter. You can find me on the Football Terrace on that Tottenham show with Eleanor and a few others, and Midnight Vibes as well on the Football Terrace. And you can also find me we'll talk about that later, do a podcast, footballing podcast with three of my boys. New episode just dropped today, so yeah, check us out on Twitter and Instagram for that.
Yeah, it's a great podcast. A little Tan Spurs brand. You never fail not to agree. Like, you're sitting there like relating to everything she says. But yeah, it's been so much fun, and hopefully next time we get to do it after a win, and we can we'll get us all on hopefully after we win that League Cup. Celebrate.
That'd be a good idea.
So this is where we all wave awkwardly until I end the stream. So bye.